Hi, and welcome to another series, another episode in our series on unpacking telematics. Telematics is, as a holistic system, has a lot of bells and whistles. And what we're doing in this series is we're unpacking the bells and the whistles to focus on one bell and one whistle at a time. And today's topic is about vehicle tracking versus vehicle recovery. And do we know the difference? I'm Patrick O'Leary, editor of Fleetwatch magazine, and this whole series is brought to you as a partnership between Fleetwatch and Netstar to educate the market. Now, on the topic today, I have with me a man who's a legend in the industry, Charles Morgan, Executive of Operations for Netstar. Now, I want to give you a bit of background to this amazing man. He's been around so long in this arena. Initially encountered vehicle tracking in 1992, having developed among the first commercially available tracking systems prior to joining Netstar in 1994. Since then, he served in multiple roles, including establishing the Netstar real-time traffic venture, acting as a chief strategic officer in 2010, moving to GM for business and strategy development in 2013, until his current role, which is occupied since 2019. I think it's the most important role, by the way, yeah. But Charles holds an engineering qualification from Wits Technikon and an IMM certificate in marketing. Charles, lovely to have you here. Go back many, many years. Go back to the early days of this whole arena when vehicles were being hijacked and you had to develop systems to recover them. But we're getting off the topic of the subject. We'll get back to that. Vehicle tracking versus vehicle recovery. I would have thought that by tracking and recovery go together because you've got to track a vehicle to recover it. So what is the difference?
Well, I think they are very, very closely aligned, but when you look at them more broader, they're very, very different. So you could perhaps say vehicle recovery is a subset of vehicle tracking. When you talk vehicle tracking, we're talking fleet management, we're talking bringing in lots of data for multiple purposes that are used for typically managing the driver safety, efficiency of the operation, and so on. Whereas you talk vehicle recovery, it's a very narrow use case. It's very focused purely on locating that vehicle, getting a ground crew in there, and recovering that physical vehicle as quickly as possible.
So the vehicle tracking is not at all linked to vehicle recovery. Vehicle tracking and vehicle recovery combined makes the telematics banner. Is that correct?
That would be 100% correct.
But
yes.
Separate activities, the one being fleet management, and we have covered quite a lot of, we will be covering quite a lot of episodes in the fleet management arena, how telematics impacts on that. But vehicle recovery is very specific. And now Netstar was one of the first in the market, eh?
Yes.
Back to what, 1990s, early 1990s. And with the tracking product, I was at the launch, by the way, of Netstar, back there at the bottom of Joburg. You don't go there anymore, unless you're at a recovery unit. But that was early tech days, and I remember it was GPS. GPS was the first thing, it was quite exciting. But had the systems or the technology improved since then? I know GSM came in and was a big leap forward to give the good guys the advantages over the bad guys.
Yes, there's been a number of changes in the technology over the years. You spoke earlier of the GPS. Now, the first generation GPS receivers were very, very basic. They needed large signals. They needed many satellites to operate. Where we're sitting today is the satellite constellations are very mature. There's more than one GPS system that, in fact, you can operate on. So GPSs have got a lot better, a lot smarter. GSM has got a lot better. The kind of data rates that we're running today, we're doing updates at once a second for, obviously for the fleet management applications. Vehicle recovery is very, very different because in that context, you only recover a vehicle when you need to, and those systems tend to be offline, which has opened the whole door to us having battery-operated units, which allow then for us to put multiple units in the vehicles in order to recover them that aren't wired to the vehicle's wiring itself. So it's a big, big, big advantage. Technology breaking right now, very exciting. We've got the Internet of Things, or IoT as people refer to it, generally speaking. We've got Sigfox, which has got a new system that's been launched, that's in the country and is busy operating. And we've got the telco operators just about to launch narrowband IoT. What those technologies are going to give us, Patrick, is the ability to have a battery-operated unit that can update quite frequently. We can put them and hide them deep in the vehicles, and we're going to know their status at all times. Not only when we need to recover, we will have an update every day saying this unit is working and in functional order. So very exciting stuff breaking as we speak.
That is very good. It gives the good guys a big sort of boost of encouragement that so much is happening on the technology front, because that's the way to fight crime. Eh? It's a massive tool in fighting crime today, is using technology. Am I right, John?
It's an absolute must. The kind of sophisticated syndicates that we face today are all using jamming equipment. These are military-grade type jammers, and the technology that we employ now is jamming resist in order to circumvent these. So it's a case of being one step ahead the whole time, and these guys keep us on our toes, and we're always jumping that next step ahead, and that's what keeps us going.
I remember the early step ahead was when GPS was there. It was a massive unit, and they had on the trucks it was a big aerial on top of the cab. And they used to cut the aerial, and then they couldn't have the signal to GPS, or otherwise they'd park it in a basement. Carlton Centre parking, I remember, was quite a popular one. Or park it under a bridge so that the signal couldn't reach the satellites. Those days are gone, eh?
Those days are very much gone. You know, these kind of infrastructures I spoke about earlier give us a very coarse position very, very quickly where the vehicle is. Once we're in close proximity to that vehicle, we use local RF technologies to direction find that vehicle. So we're onto it very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, now, on the vehicle tracking, that is real-time, miles of data. That's where big data is coming into its own and tapping into the Internet of Things. But on vehicle recovery, we go back to the basics, where the human input, highly skilled human input is needed, because you've got to send people in to high-risk areas to recover that vehicle, to get that vehicle back. How sophisticated you are in there, or is it as basic as I'm describing? Have those methods sort of improved, or is it still those methods?
A lot of what we refer to as the last mile is still based on the same technologies, and that's using directional RF. It allows us to pinpoint an exact location of a vehicle. So if we take a typical scenario where a vehicle may have been stolen and driven into a townhouse complex, GPS would show the last position entering the complex, because it wouldn't work once the vehicle is in the garage. What we use right now is we use this additional last mile technology. It allows us to walk straight up to that garage door, identify that vehicle's in this garage. We can then open that door. We know which door to knock on now, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, so Star Wars was your Zoom, eh?
Yeah.
And you just beep, beep, bing, bang. Oh,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
But also, the most basic criteria for success on that recovery is the people you have in the recovery, right? Your ground forces and your helicopters and that. Give us a bit of a picture on how that works.
Okay, well, as you say, the ground force, that is absolutely critical to the operation. We run a national operation, which means that vehicles can be stolen and moved anywhere within the Republic of South Africa. It requires that we've got teams located in strategic points. These teams have to be highly trained. They have to know exactly how to approach each dangerous situation at a time. They need to know how to use our technology, and we need to know how to concentrate all our efforts in the right areas at the right time to bring in the air cover. As you mentioned, we do use airborne platforms. We are using helicopters. There's the beginning of the use of sophisticated drone equipment now, which is very exciting.
Drone equipment.
Drone equipment, absolutely. So this is all that's starting to break, but you need to be able to coordinate this as you would a military operation. That's where a central control room needs to be in place. That's where communications infrastructures and protocols need to be put in place, that we can coordinate the response. So it's very exciting, but without the guys on the ground, highly trained, highly motivated, and committed to go into very, very dangerous situations very, very often, it wouldn't be working, and it wouldn't be as successful as it is today.
You know, it's wonderful to hear that, because, you know, the general perception among the public that everything is corrupt, you know, and that the guys are not doing their job. But I can assure people that I've met some of these guys, and they are really passionate, and they're dedicated in what they do, and they're determined to succeed in they're special type of people. Hey? You can't It's not just anyone off the street.
No, they're born with a calling, and they stay true to what they have to do at all the time. Yeah, it's very encouraging. You're right.
Yeah, and they stay in the background. You never see them for obvious reasons. They amazing people. South Africa, I've reminded people overseas, Charles, that South Africa was a pioneer of, and I'm going to say, telematics. We called it vehicle recovery in those days, not tracking, vehicle recovery. I've learned something today, because I've always linked the two. You've got to track a vehicle to recover.
Yeah.
But vehicle tracking, fleet management, vehicle recovery is the theft, hijacking, go get my vehicle back, using amazing technology and all that, and trying to keep up with the technology of the criminal syndicates as well. Just before I go to my global question, it was a race to introduce technology to overcome a criminal method. Then they would try to overcome that. Is that race still going? Are they sophisticated?
Very sophisticated. They're technology enabled, and they are sophisticated. And without our constant effort and our focus in R&D to circumvent the countermeasures that have been put on the table every single day, we won't win the race. But I'm happy to say we are always one step ahead, and we will remain one step ahead.
Yeah, because I remember Jammers was a new thing that came in. That was them getting a bit of a leap ahead as well. The criminals getting it through jamming, and then you had to overcome that. And I'm not going to ask you how. I'm not going to give anything out that puts you at a disadvantage. Global pioneer. Back to that question. Are we still a global leader?
We are certainly a global leader. You find many South African operations, including ourselves. We're moving offshore very, very successfully. We're competing on a global scale. I would, however, say that the stolen vehicle recovery side of what we do is very, very focused within South Africa, more so than what you would find in the rest of the world. That hasn't been a major problem that needs to be overcome, but when it does arise, and it will in the future, we'll be ideally positioned to go play there too.
I must say something. I was watching in Europe when the eastern countries were sending trucks in, and crime started going up. It's quite amazing. And I thought, hey, we can help, because we were a global pioneer. We had, South Africa had so much to be proud of. We tend to knock ourselves too much at times. And really, I'm sitting next to a man here who has walked a long road since 1992 in fighting crime, developing systems, and just being an asset. You're a national asset, Charles, and I mean that from the heart.
Thank you.
I've seen how you guys operate.
Yeah.
I've also seen how there's tragedy sometimes with your guys that go out. They do operate in a dangerous area, and it's nice to know that we have you on our side, and that there are people like you and your recovery units and everything, and the technology, of course, that you keep developing, that we have a friend, and you're on our side, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, Patrick. It's good to know that we've got your support. As you say, the technology is absolutely vital. So are the other key ingredients, is putting the operations on the ground, getting those vehicles back, and I think also educating our customer base. Certain situations are more dangerous than others. If you're going to leave your vehicle parked on the sidewalk or the pavement somewhere, just be aware you're putting yourself at risk. So I think there's also a part that can be played by our customers being more aware of the situations that they find themselves in, and trying to avoid getting into those situations where possible.
And on the trucking side, just to lead on from it, that's where fleet management comes in, because with your Internet of Things, with your big data, you can identify high-risk areas and all that, pass that into operator, and they can avoid those areas. So in that way, the operator can help you in your task.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So that's where the combination of the fleet management and vehicle recovery has advantages.
Yeah, it's huge advantages. We can pick up a route deviation off a planned route. That's typically the precursor of there being something wrong. And then, again, it gets us to mobilize a recovery response that much quicker. The quicker we respond, the higher the probability of us getting both the vehicle and the load back together.
Yep. Which again, I'm going to end on this, that again links, there's a difference, but again links the fleet management side to recovery side, and I think here of route planning that can come in essential, because that could tell you when your truck is going off a route, and that is your alarm bell, that's your signal that says that could be a hijack, and that's when you get in. So, but to get that, you've got to have route planning, And that's where the fleet management comes in.
Yes.
So you've got a holistic package.
Yes. You have to know where you're going and what you're meant to be doing beforehand in order to pick up the exception.
Lovely. This is lovely stuff. I love it. We got a friend out there. I'm going to ask one more. Are we winning the war against crime?
We're winning the war. Yes, we're winning the war. We're one step ahead, and it's our mission to stay one step ahead.
On that very positive and welcome note, John, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks,
and
Patrick.
well done, and pass on everybody's thanks to your guys out there.
I will do
We
so.
appreciate what they do.
Thank you.
God bless you.